Hello, and welcome everyone to How to Navigate Uncertainty During a Crisis 4-part program. Yes, that is a mouthful, very long name for a program. But this is something that we offered to all of our audience and everyone else who knows our audience as a way to support you during all the ups and downs that seem to be plaguing us all over the world. One of my favorite parts of these trainings is the very beginning when everyone's posting in chat where they're from. I mean, we've got Poland, Lithuania, Michigan, Ontario, Toronto. We've got people joining from all over the world. And that just proves that there's really no place that's immune to all of the uncertainty that's happening in the world right now. And that's what the focus of the next 4 days, well, I guess the next 3 after today is for. So welcome, everyone. Welcome. For those of you who are new to David's been in the professional growth and personal growth industry for over 20 years. He's got an impeccable reputation. He really finds joy in helping people learn how to think successfully. So while we know all the marketing tactics and strategies on how to build a business, we also know that most times the health of your business and your ability to grow isn't necessarily tied directly to the strategies that you implement, but it's really tied to what's going on between your two ears and how you're thinking about what's happening. So that's what our goal is here today over the next couple of days. Now, we're going to do a couple of things different. When David starts, we're going to shut the chat off. We've gotten feedback from people that the chat's a little distracting, so we will shut it off. However, after an hour of David teaching, so right at 3 o'clock Eastern, we're going to open for Q&A, which means David's going to take your individual questions. At that time, we'll open up chat, and I'll give you instructions as to how to use that chat. So if you need anything, if you're having any tech issues, if you've got really big questions, there's 2 things that you can do. The first thing you can do is you can email support@davidnagel.com. We've got someone monitoring that. Corey, our amazing client support person, is monitoring it closely. And the second thing you can do is you can join our Transformation 2021 Facebook group. We are monitoring that closely as well. So that's 2 ways for you all to communicate with us, or even just post questions for David to answer even after this training or any of the subsequent trainings end. So support@davidnagel.com and also our Transformation 2021 private Facebook group. Okay, I've got my list here I need to go over, and then I promise you we'll get right into this. We've been having a couple of tech issues today with our internet, so Zoom seems to be a little bit glitchy. If your screen freezes for a couple of seconds, please know that we know that. And that it should remedy itself shortly. We're running on 2 different internet connections, so we may have to flip between one or the other depending on which one we're having difficulty with. So please just stick with us. It's just, we know about it, and it will be fixed, and we'll just go on with the show. Second thing is the Q&A. So like I said, the chat's going to be shut down, so you have no way of sending in your questions. My suggestion would be to keep a notepad next to you, and if questions come into your mind, simply write them down, and then when we get to 3 o'clock Eastern, you'll get an opportunity to get those questions answered. Okay? All right, I think, and we have one more really big announcement, so write this down. Tomorrow's training, we've had a really difficult scheduling hiccup with tomorrow's training. It was originally scheduled for 2 p.m. Eastern. We've had to move it to 3 p.m. Eastern. And for those of you overseas, we're sorry. I know that pushes it 1 hour later into your nighttime or evening, but it really could not be, trust me, we tried everything. It could not be helped. So tomorrow's training is not at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour later at 3 p.m. Eastern, and it will go for the full 90 minutes with 60 minutes of teaching and then 30 minutes of Q&A. So please make sure you've got that noted. I have updated all the email sequences, so your reminders will say that, and you'll also have the link to join. So nothing else you need to do, just make sure you've noted the time change. The date is still the same. All right, let's get into how to navigate uncertainty. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of mistruths, untruths, misinformation, disinformation. They said this, they said that. Nobody knows who to believe, what to trust. business owners especially are looking for some kind of solid ground so they can make a decision based in truth rather than fear. Also, how to, manage their own emotions through all this, because fear can be pretty terrible. Anxiety can be terrible. How many of you, I got you all on screens in front of me, how many of you have experienced in the last couple of months or even the last couple of weeks a certain level of anxiety? I know I have. Now there's talk of inflation. There's talk of all kinds of things in the government. There's talk of more COVID stuff. There's talk of more shutdown stuff. So the whole idea behind this is not for us to go into a political discussion or debate about what's going on in the world. The whole idea of this 4-part program is to help you feel more in control of yourself, your thinking, and your business. So that's what we're going to focus on. All right. David, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready, Steph.
All right. It's all yours.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Really glad to be here with you. It's going to be a great few days, I think. I hope you get a lot out of this. I want to start with the idea of kind of doing a recap of what we actually are. So one of the things that I have always found to be pretty beneficial in my life is to consistently remind myself of who I am, and what I have the ability to do. For me, it's always helped me get from the place of overwhelm back into strategy, and then being able to think through a strategy, especially when it's difficult. So before I get into that, when the COVID thing first hit, we really knew that we were in some kind of a pickle. One of the things that I recognized that I thought was very important, and I was watching this all over the world, was that the foundation of the way most people are raised in life and the way that they're taught to react to their world, the way that they're taught to respond to their world, how they learn how money comes in and out, how products and services go back and forth, all of this stuff was changing very rapidly because the foundation of everything was being rattled. And I thought, what's really fascinating about this is probably nobody that's been alive today, unless you've had like some kind of a severe illness or, I don't know, maybe a huge embezzlement or something, has never really experienced that kind of a setback, that kind of a challenge, especially when it was not going to continue in a normal way, like you could just pick something up and it would continue in a normal way. This was significantly changing not only what was taking place at the time, but what was possible in the future to take place if things were going to get worse. So things started going, and then we started looking at how everything was and what was the truth and what wasn't the truth. And of course, like any good tragedy around the world, there's always going to be conspiracy theorists. Everybody's got to get their story in there. And then how do you tell the difference between all of those different things? But what I thought was kind of fascinating was that it appeared for a while anyway for most of us that we were going to come out of this. And then it was pretty obvious that we weren't going to come out of it. And this is a much bigger deal than we ever thought. Based on the behavior of what the virus is doing and what everybody else around it is doing, and them trying to come up with a strategy so we can eradicate this thing from the planet and we can go on about our lives. For one, it's funny in a way, although I shouldn't say that it's funny. It's not funny. I think it's more interesting than anything else. Every form of life has its challenge to exist. And it goes through all kinds of trials and tribulations and adaptations in order to be able to fight what it's up against. The problem, I think, with human beings is that most of us really don't understand who we are and what we actually have the ability to do. So let's take a little bit of a look there first. One of the greatest tools that I ever received was the stick person. And in a way that it really told me and taught me just how fantastic we really are and how our mind works so that we can actually learn to use it based on the truth of the way our mind works and the capabilities that it has versus what other people think or what we haven't been told about it. So it's really divided into 3 parts. We have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious mind, and we have the body. Now, one of the things that I think that is interesting about this is that in the way in which the subconscious mind works with the conscious mind, and then how it must interact with and through our body to produce the results, our circumstances, and our environment that we are actually paying attention to. So let's understand one thing first. We have senses. We see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And those senses are constantly observing our external world. It's taking information, it's filtering it back into our conscious mind, where the programming in our subconscious mind tells our conscious mind how to think about what we're perceiving, and then it sends a signal down to the outside world as to what do we do with this thing, or what do we do with that thing? How do we respond here? How do we think about this? But here's the fascinating part before we get into the creative possibility of what we can do. What is astounding to me is the amount of information that is in our subconscious mind by the time we can actually really critically think. We start our critical thinking around 7 years old. Prior to that, our mind is kind of like an open ball, like this. And all the information that's around us is just going in. So you want to, if you haven't heard this before, or if you hear something you haven't heard about it before, make sure you make a note of this. From the moment of conception for a human being till the time they're about 7 years old, we are in a state of absorbing information, both from the parental units that we have, the people that we're around, and outside information as cause. And this information is going into our subconscious mind in a way where if it is repeated over and over again, it begins to stick into our subconscious mind without thinking. Without us thinking, is this good or bad? Is this right or wrong? Is this the information I want to take in? Is it not the information that I want to take in? And it goes in over and over and over again, and it forms a foundation of, like I said, how we're thinking right here. The subconscious mind does not have the ability to reject thought. It can only accept thought. So when we get to be around 7 years old, as this information is coming in through our conscious mind into our subconscious mind, the conscious mind has a different ability. It's a very different ability, and it allows us to really think. However, write these abilities down. First, it has the ability to think. Your conscious mind has the ability to critically think about what the information is that's coming in. Where does it go? What does it do with it? Does it need more understanding? Should it kick it out? Is it bad information? We have the ability to think critically with our conscious mind. However, by the time we're thinking critically with our conscious mind, we do have to understand that our subconscious mind is primarily telling us what to think about that information. So here's where kind of the rub comes in. The people that gave you the information about everything that you're aware of, up to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, those people are telling you what they believe about the universe, what they believe about their world, what they believe about their family. So you take it in without any rejection, without any story, without any fabrication. It just goes in. And then when you see something that you've been told what it is, like this could be a pen, right? And somebody says this is a pen, and that gets stored in my subconscious mind. When I see a pen, I don't have to think about it. I know instantaneously it's a pen. If I see a car and I've been told that it's a car, I don't have to think about it. I know instantaneously that it's a car. So most of the things in your life, especially when you're an adult, there are so many things that you've seen over and over and over again that not only have you been told what they were, but you have an individual meaning about what those things are. You don't need to think, it just comes right to the surface. It just floods your conscious mind. So the subconscious mind does not have the ability to think. It does not have the ability to reason. It does not have the ability to reject. It takes whatever is in it and it begins to act on it immediately. It also causes your conscious mind to think about whatever it is that it's focused on. The conscious mind's different. It has the ability to think. It has the ability to accept. It has the ability to reject. It has the ability to reason. And as it has this ability, it has to evaluate what it is that it's looking at and what is the potential of that thing. This is where we get into a problem when we're talking about navigating uncertainty of any kind. Why? Because it's uncertain. That's why. Because it is uncertain. And especially when we are going through a time frame when there are so many things changing on the foundation of what we know to be true. Some things are changing because they're changing evolutionary within the cycles of people that are on the planet, right? People are changing. People are waking up. Some people are waking up, some people are asleep. Some people are exploring different ideas of what work for them, what don't work for them. And these ideas keep going around and around and around. And we have a hell of a lot more people. So as we go through that, it stands to reason that some people are going to see the way the world is changing, and they're going to say, I don't jive with that. That's not how I was raised. That's not part of my belief system. I don't like that. And then automatically we make it wrong, and we put it in a file in our mind that it's wrong. When all the trouble started a little over a year ago, and we were really paying attention to what was going on, I believe for the most part, almost everybody wants to do right, but they don't know what information is right for them. And as human beings, we really hate being told what to do, especially when we don't know the outcome of what it is that we're being told to do. So we're asking to put faith and trust in people that we may not necessarily have a whole lot of faith or trust in, because we've never had to really deal with them on such a personal, intimate level before. And when you have other individuals standing up in various different areas of all the different things, so you have the government, you have all the different countries that are going through their thing right now, you have our economy, you have the vaccinations, you have people that are homeless, you have our southern border being flooded by immigrants. There's a whole lot that's going on right now that needs to be taken care of, and you're hearing all kinds of different opinions. And there's one thing that still stands extremely true for you, and that is you need to look at your own life and chart your own path and decide which way you're going to go. And you want to make sure that you're doing it with a certain amount of certainty so that you can not only make decisions to move forward, but if you recognize that you made an error for whatever reason, you can own the error and you can turn around and you can fix it. You can reevaluate what you're doing, right? Because the worst place that we can get into is judgment. If we get into judgment, it's over. We'll judge ourselves. It'll crash our self-esteem, and we're not going to make any good choices after that. So the key, first and foremost, is to really understand, how is your life right now? What's actually going on with you? How are you thinking? And what are the most important things that you're looking at right now? So I want to take about 5 minutes, and I want you to write something down. I want you to write down the 20 most important things that need attention in your life. If you can't come up with 20, do 10. But try to push it to 20. Okay, let's take 5 minutes. The 20 most important things that you need to pay attention to right now in your life. Go ahead and begin. Okay, all right. So now you have these things that you're writing down that you need to pay attention to. Some things that you need to do something with. Some things you need to take information in. You need to find out if the information is true. You have to make decisions. You have to make important decisions for your life. And I want to show you something that I think is pretty fascinating. So here we have something. This is usually something that I use to create something called a double binding message. And I'm going to kind of use it the same way. So let's just say that this is you over here. And you have what you're thinking in your conscious mind. Now, let's understand something very important. What you think is being caused by two factors. One is an outside factor. Outside factor. What does that mean? That means you're gathering information from an outside source. It can be people, it can be places, it can be things, it can be media, it can be television, it can be radio, it can be anything. Information is coming to you, right? It could be another person. Ultimately it is another person in one way or another. So as this comes to you, it is coming into your life, it is causing you to think, creates a thought, but understand that that thought is coming from an unconscious belief. An unconscious belief is telling you what to think about the outside factor, what it is that you're actually looking at. Okay? You may or may not have a story that goes along with that outside belief. You might be familiar with it. You might have a fear about it. Either way, whatever it is, it's going to cause you to think something along a predestined line of thoughts. That could be predestined line of facts. It could be predestined line of garbage, BS. It can be all different kinds of ideas. But your job is to figure out, is this information right for you? Is this information not right for you? Is this true? Can you trust it? Can you not trust it? What is it you're going to do with this information? And yes, it does seem, I grant you this, It does seem like it's changing on a regular basis, because it really is. So I think the foundation of what it is that we're looking for is, how do we look at ourselves, what we believe, and what we want for our life. I think that's first and foremost. If you just throw your life up in the air without giving it any really thought, what are you going to end up doing? You're going to end up letting information from an outside source control the way that you're thinking and kind of reframe the decisions that you have to make without actually thinking for yourself and finding out information that will help you quantify what it is that you're actually perceiving. Now, I've been through a lot of this myself. I mean, I don't know anybody that has not been through a lot of this year. So the idea is that in your unconscious beliefs, you have to be honest with yourself about something very important. First and foremost, your subconscious wants to keep you safe. First and foremost, it wants to keep you safe. But as we know, we have a very interesting phenomenon in the world where people will do stupid shit. In some way, they're thinking they're keeping themselves safe. In some way, they're thinking to themselves they're keeping themselves safe. They may be doing something stupid. They may be doing something that's non-productive. They may be doing something that won't keep them safe at all. Maybe there's a potential that it'll actually kill them. But they're not aware of this in the moment, because they're caught up in something that is profoundly mind-altering in that moment. So let's take a look at what that might be, because it can be anything for anyone, including a lie that somebody else tells that you're not even relatively aware that it's a lie. Inside of our subconscious mind, we have values. One of the values that we have that underlines almost all of our values, beyond the idea of safety, is the idea of growth. It's the idea of growth. It's the idea of independence. It's the idea of finding and charting your own way in your own course in life. It's the idea of not being told what to do. One of the things that I've learned is that if too many of these independent values overtake your current situation because you don't know what it is to do, it will then take rational value and it will toss it aside, and it will put things in front of you that give you the illusion that you're in control. It'll give you the illusion that you're safe. It'll give you the illusion that you feel good. It'll give you the illusion that you're doing the right thing. It'll give you the illusion that you're using your own word. It will give you the illusion that you're fine in where you are. And what is this showing? What it's showing is that somehow throughout a process of time, because so many things were uncertain, you started checking things off your box coming from an outside source that represented uncertainty. Now, I've actually seen quite a bit of this going on. And the idea is that when the outside world is too uncertain, people start looking for things in the inside world that they can feel certain doing. The only problem is that it may not be certain, it just may be familiar. It can be something all the way from your past. It can be anything that's familiar that will get you out of the discomfort of what you're actually experiencing now that seems to be so certain. So you have to be on the watch out for that, because we would normally call that a distraction. But during what's going on today, I would go much further than a distraction, much, much further. And the reason is because typically when the world is relatively normal, if you want to call it that, there are other things that we can do, other things that we can glom onto that appear to be in our norm that may not be in your norm right now. Because there's so many things so many people can't do. And there's so many things that you're being told to do. And then you have so many people jumping on the people that are telling people to do things that they're claiming that they're liars and skeptics and frauds, and they have a different kind of agenda than most of us want to do. So it creates a problem. It puts a people in peril if you're not careful, right? Why? Because what is literally happening underneath of everything is this interesting idea for human beings to survive. And one of the things that causes human beings to survive is the ability to break out of what everybody else is doing when the chips are down and kind of, chart your own course as you go through life. So what is it that is most important in your head right now? And how clear are you thinking about it as far as the information that you have, as far as what it is that you want to do? Now, remember, this outside factor is coming from another person or an entity of some kind, right? It's coming from people, it's coming from places, it's coming from things, it comes from books, it's coming from YouTube segments, it's coming from email, it's coming from text messages, it's coming from all over the place, all over the place. And it seems like today more than ever, there's so many different agendas that are trying to get a hold of your consciousness to really kind of pull you in, to try to get you to think about what's actually happening from another person's perspective. But here is the flatline main issue. Today, let me move this here. Out of the way. We've got something going on that's causing a bigger problem, and it's causing a bigger problem with pretty much everyone, and it's this. It's fear. But the fear is coming from too many directions. The fear is coming from too many directions. It's a really fascinating thing. We live in a time where we're actually getting some truth from some places, and for people that disagree with the truth, they shut it down with fear. As hard and as fast as they possibly can. So even things that are true that you think will be better, that you want to believe in, it's causing tremendous doubt by the way that they're being handled. And then you're kind of left in this place, well, who in the hell am I supposed to believe? How am I supposed to get my conscious mind wrapped around this so I don't pick something by accident that's actually not good for me? Or I don't get written out from society because everybody's pissed because I decided to do something completely different and trust my own gut on what was actually going on. So understand that 24/7 we're being bombarded by fear. Next step of what I'm going to have you do here is for about 7 minutes, I want you to think about every area of your life that fear is infiltrating you, and I want you to write that down. I want you to go through every area of your life. Go through your home, your friends, your family, your spouses, your romantic partners, business, the news, the right, the left, the middle, other nations. It doesn't matter. Write down every place that you're letting fear messages get into your life. You have 7 minutes. Go ahead and begin. Okay. All right. So let me just make a point here. Fear is never coming in from too many directions. What is happening is you're paying attention to too many directions at the same time. It's good to know if you're afraid of the things that are coming in, but not to let you make decisions by that fear that you're actually experiencing, okay? So let's take a look at it like this. This is you. Let me ask you this question. The first thing is this, and this is, we have to know this to some degree, because this is the information that tells us where to look, what to look for, how to learn. What is the outcome that you want? What is your outcome? What is your outcome? What do you want? Right? We have to start to get clear on that first. Why? Because if we don't get clear on what the outcome is, what part of your brain do you think you're paying attention to? So in the subconscious, you're going to have one side that's going to have the fear. That side is feeding information to think about into your conscious mind. It's giving you thoughts. It's also telling you what to pay attention to. It's controlling what you see in your outside world. Your outside world is your results, your circumstances, and your environment. Your environment is made up of people, places, and things, okay? So, when fear has a hold of us, what's it doing? It's hijacking something in your subconscious mind. It's projecting an image into your consciousness about what it's seeing, and it has enough information compiled together to make you afraid. So then we ask ourselves a question, do we need to be afraid of that or not? Well, maybe we do. Maybe we don't. It's really hard to tell if you don't know what your outcome is. If we just stay focused on the fear, we can get paralyzed in the fear, and we can end up doing things in the fear that are not good for us or anybody else. Okay? So let's take a look at this as we experience it. We either see or hear something that's external of us. It gets fed back into our conscious mind where it forms an image. And with that image, it gets impressed in the subconscious mind, and if we say we have a fear around it, the subconscious mind acts automatically without any assistance on your own. And it encapsulates the idea of fear, reprojects it onto your subconscious mind, and you're afraid. If that doesn't change, you will start making decisions from that place, and that's never good. It's never good unless you have to get away from something real fast. If you got to get away from something real fast immediately because something is like going to kill you or hurt you immediately, that's completely different. That's fight or flight. We've had that for millions of years. That's fine. But when it hangs in your mind, when it steals your joy, when it steals your happiness, when it steals your ability to think, and you start letting other ideas in that are not something that is healthy or thought out or educated or verified by somebody else, the fear can say anything looks better than what it's looking at now. And that's how we can make an error. So, instead of focusing on this fear, instead of focusing on this fear here, what we want to do is we want to say, what's my outcome? What do I want? Now, you may have to go through multiple areas of your life. What do you want in your family? What do you want in your income? Where do you want in where you're living? What do you want from your government? What's okay with you? What's not okay with you? How are you going to take care of yourself and your family while all of this is going on? How are you going to take care of your health? How are you going to communicate? How are you going to be part of the solution and not part of the problem? That requires significant thinking. So you have to have an idea what your outcomes are. Now, here's something that's fascinating. In this book, in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he said something that's really interesting. He said that the most successful people in the world have the greatest ability to make a quick decision, hold that decision in place, and change it rarely, if at all necessary. Why? For a couple reasons. Number one, they know their outcome. They know their outcome. Number two, they are going to determine what is going to get there to their outcome. Number three, they're going to test it to see what the result is. So I want you to write this down. One, know your outcome. One, know your outcome. Okay? Number two, you have to think to yourself about what it is that you want it to be. How are you letting information into that outcome? And then number three, are you willing to test it to determine if it's valid or if it's not valid? Here's the big thing we have to stay away from today. We have to stay away from rumor. We have to stay away from grandizement. Like it's people blowing things out of proportion, people not knowing what the truth is, just assuming, saying, why else would somebody do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You haven't asked. You're assuming. And you're assuming based on your fear. You're probably assuming on what other people think, and you're not thinking for yourself. You're not drilling down into a problem. You're not doing research into a problem to find out what's true or what's not. But you don't want to just do that to get rid of a fear. You want to do that so you have an idea of where you're going to go. Right? Okay, so ask yourself this question here. Hang on. What do you want right now? What do you want right now? I'll give you 5 minutes to answer that question. It needs to be something tangible. It needs to be something that you can build a system around, that you can create a plan that you can achieve. It needs to be something that's going to move you forward in your life the best that you can. What do you want right now? 5 minutes. Begin. Okay, we are on the cusp there of What do you want right now? I think one of the things that's important to know is that when your fear is talking to you, it often is talking extremely loud. And sometimes it's difficult to hear, right? So one of the things that you can do, and you can write down the idea of what are the things you do know, what are the things that you don't know. This is going to be a process that we're going to be going through here this week. I want to give you a little bit each time. And then we're going to be making an offer for the Art of Success for October 13th through 15th, which goes into a lot of this stuff really deep, but success in general. And we've altered it somewhat to be able to do the Art of Success in a very special time like we're going through right now. So do you want to give them a little bit about that stuff, the
sure.
information?
I'd be happy to.
Thanks.
Got my notes here, got my reading glasses on. So what David's talking about is the Art of Success Virtual Summit that's coming up October 13th through the 15th. I know many of you on here have been to the Art of Success Summit before. Give me a wave if you've attended the Art of Success Summit before. You know that it's an incredibly impactful 3 days of just David teaching. And he's made changes to the Art of Success Summit for October based upon what's going on in the world right now. So we wanted to make sure you all got an invitation to join him. It's 3 solid days of David teaching very similarly to what he's teaching right now in a much deeper level. Day 1 is about mastering your own psychology, so really understanding how you think and why you think the way you do. Day 2 is about mastering the laws, so you can bring in the truth of universal law and let that kind of be how you guide your decision making. And then day 3 is how to navigate, how to create your own success. So you leave on day 3 with a plan, moving forward based on what you want. So it actually builds off of what he's going to be teaching you in the How to Navigate Uncertainty program. Again, real quick, the dates are October 13th through the 15th. I'm going to ask my team to pop a link. Looks like they already have put a link up there. It's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern each day. It's completely virtual, so you don't have to deal with any of the things that you would have to deal with if you needed to travel. We've got some really great things planned for you. We really hope it would be a benefit. Pricing for it right now is only $247. If you want to bring a friend, it's only $147. So it's incredibly reasonable and inexpensive for you to do this and really set yourself up for quarter 4 of 2021 and also beginning of 2022 as we go through all of the shifts and changes that are happening right now. So if that interests you, go ahead and click on the link and join us. The special pricing expires on Friday night, so you've got some time to make your decision, but we wanted to let you know about it nonetheless. Okay, David, I've gone through everything. Is there anything that you want to say to wrap up this teaching? I know it's going to be continued tomorrow, but before we go to Q&A, anything that you want to end on with this?
Don't get ahead of the lessons today and tomorrow, right? Stay exactly with what we're doing and really think about the depth of the lesson.
Okay, awesome.
Because the fear wants to come back to the surface all the time, right?
It's always pushing. It's always tapping you on the shoulder for sure. Okay. Let's go to Q&A because I'm sure you have all kinds of questions. So I'm going to ask that my team open up chat. And if you have a question for David, it's very simple. Just simply type your name in the chat exactly as it's shown on your screen. So like, for example, on my screen, you see Nagel Events. On my other screen, you actually see my picture and you see my name, Steph Tuss. I want your name that's on your screen typed into chat. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say your name and ask you to unmute. So we'll give you permission to unmute, and then you'll be able to ask David your question directly. So if you have a question for David, go ahead and type your name in chat right now. All right, David, the first question is coming from Clint Francis.
Okay.
Clint, go ahead and unmute.
You hear me?
Yes.
Hi, David. I've been doing your audio about the laws and the law of cause and effect, and you talk about miscreating with fear. So my specific question is, how do you transition from miscreating with fear to creating from a place of love?
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about creating from a place of love right now. If you're in fear, it's very difficult to get to love. The idea is that you ultimately get there. And so the process that I usually tell people is this. Emerson had some very wise words. He said, ignore the thing and you will get rid of the thing, or or you do the thing and you'll get the energy to do the thing. In either way, if you ignore fear, if you starve it instead of telling it to go away or yelling at it, it will drop on its own because you start focusing on the thing that you want. So if I would, instead of love, what I would put in there is work with expectancy, which is to stay in gratitude.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question. Next question is coming from Becca Kuntz. Becca, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, David. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My question involves the subconscious and conscious of like, how do I feel like I've been consciously working on my money story and worthiness stories and everything for a long time, and I'm ready for it to be in my subconscious. So how, like, what more can I be doing? Or it
Consistency. It's consistency, Becca. It will take over when you're completely consistent with it and you're not going backwards. And it will drop.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question is coming from Samex.
Okay.
There we go. We
Hey,
can hear you.
David. Hey, David. This is I saw a movie. I can't remember, like a Will Smith movie, where he says, the character in the movie says that it's important to be able to differentiate between fear and danger. And ever since I heard that, like, that was a very powerful, like, that was very powerful for me. So in today's, like, you were talking about it, and you worded it in terms of there's times when, you know, you need your flight or flight response or whatever, but don't mistake when you're feeling fear for that. Can you just expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so this is something that takes practice in almost every human being, because they're not really taught that much about it when they're kids. So as they get older, they have to really discern between what is fearful, what is danger. What does danger mean right now? Is it immediate danger? Is it danger next week? What is that danger around? And what is it presupposing in my life? In other words, what is it communicating to me that I need to do?
Very good. Very good.
You're welcome.
Okay, just a reminder, if you have a question for David, very simply, all you need to do is type your name, your screen name in chat. Next up is Liana.
Hi, David.
Hi.
So, one of my questions was, with everything that's going on, I developed something along with a health coach that I have of mine, but for some reason, I've been dealing with that sense of, like, you know, it might be too expensive. I mean, should we even charge right now? So I get into my own head, and then I start kind of like panicking. And I just wanted to know what you suggest me doing. Is it something that I have to deal with in my own beliefs?
So what are you making these statements about?
I guess because, okay, so it's a protocol program that we did, you know, for people that they're worried about the risk factors in regards to the shot. It's a program that's pretty pricey, but it's something that, you know, they will overlook and see you before and after and treat you and make sure you're perfectly fine after the fact. But it is pretty pricey, and I don't know, and I don't know if I'm buying the people's stories, you know, when they tell me, oh, well, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, but then they don't have any other alternative because they have to if they want to keep on working. Does that make sense? But then I think that I get in between because I feel bad about that, and I feel like maybe I shouldn't even, you know, be part of this. Maybe what if it's, I don't know.
Well, I think the idea is that a person is really solid who they are. They're not making up excuses as to why they can't move forward.
Right.
They're listening to people that came before them with really good information. You just have to ask yourself, is the information true? Can you reference that information and then make the best decision in the direction that you want to go, not the direction you don't want to go?
David, do you think the 4 questions would work really well for Liana?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to just explain what those 4 questions
Yeah,
are?
I can. I was going to get into those tomorrow, but I'll do them right now. So there's 4 questions that I encourage people to ask when they want the truth to come to the surface and they don't want to be misguided by other thinking or maybe fear that they have wrapped up into it. And the first question is this something I want to be, do, or have? The second question is being, doing, or having this going to take me in the direction that I want to go or in the direction of my purpose? The third question is being, doing, having this in harmony with God's laws or the laws of the universe? And the fourth question is does it violate the rights of others? Is being, doing, or having this violate the rights of others? And the right we're looking not to violate is taking away somebody else's choice. So is this something I want to be, do, or have? Is being, doing, or having this going to take me in the direction of my goal or my purpose? Is being, doing, or having this in harmony with God's laws of the laws of the universe? Is being, or doing, or having this going to violate the rights of others? Those are the four questions. So you're looking for 3 yeses and a no. If you get 3 yeses and a no, make a decision and move. If you're not getting 3 yeses and a no, you know it's probably the wrong idea.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Next question is coming from Marzena.
Hello. I just wanted to, if I may share something, because I've been noticing there's a tremendous amount of fear, as we know, around us everywhere. It's penetrating almost majority of people. And what I feel is that because the fear is coming from the outside, we don't really have naturally fear within us. This is something that's on the external.
No, we actually have natural fear within us. We actually have natural fear within us.
What I just feel that the external fear, the external situation causing the fear within us, but it's not that the fear, we are born with fear.
Yes, you're incorrect, ma'am. You're incorrect. We are born with fear. We're born with 2 fears. We're born with the fear of falling and loud noises. All other fears we are learned. So here's the thing about this. It doesn't matter if you're born with it or if you learned it. If you learned it, whether it's from a story for somebody else, it's an imagination you have, or it's an experience you have, it's still in your subconscious mind. And when something that resembles that fear hits it, it sparks it up and it emotionally takes over. So our job is to find out how real is that fear, because all life has some form of a response mechanism to get away from something that it knows can destroy it.
But if I may say, I feel that when we are in synchronicity with our mind, integration of mind, body, and spirit, then there is no really, the fear doesn't really exist. There is a peace in a peace, and there's a love. And
Sure.
love, when there's love, there's no fear. So that's why I'm saying our natural essence, which comes from our soul, is devoid of fear. There is only love. There is only a feeling of peacefulness and joy. And that's a natural feeling of our essence. So I'm speaking from regarding the essence, not the body, not the mind, which is always upset about something or running somewhere all the time. I'm talking about the inner peacefulness, which comes from when we live in our essence, when we live from our heart and our soul, then there's no room, the external situation cannot affect us and cause the fear within us.
Okay.
This is my experience. I just wanted to share. So perhaps maybe there will be another approach to not to fear.
See, I don't think it's productive not to fear. It's part of the human experience. If I was to tell 1,000 people not to fear, they don't even have the ability to do that yet. It takes quite a bit of consciousness in a person to get to the place where they don't fear. I've been doing this for 22 years, and I don't fear. There's a lot of things I don't have fear around that I used to, but it took a long time to get there. I mean, I'm glad you're there, but what do you do with the people that don't have the ability to get rid of it in the moment? You have to provide them with some kind of an opportunity to get out of it.
To listen to their own heart and soul and focus on what my heart desires. Who am
It's fine. I'll tell you what. You have all the right to go teach it the way you want, and I'm going to teach it the way that I want. So I believe what you're saying. I just don't think it's productive when people already have fear in them and they don't know how to get away with it. You can say that all you want, but then how do you have the ability to determine if you're in any kind of danger or not?
Well, you don't really, you are not feeling the danger. When you are peaceful within, then the universe provides situations when you are conscious or in positive state of mind and soul, you are living from your soul and your heart, then the universe provides situations that will match your vibration. your
Yeah,
inner
not all the
vibration.
time it won't. Not all the time it won't. Not all the time it won't. That's a great thought, though. That's a great thought, but it's actually a quite ignorant thought. I mean, explain to me how Christ got nailed to a cross and whipped to a tar then, if he was just love.
Okay, we're going to go to the next question. Question from
Thank you, Del.
Shelley Hastings. Shelley Hastings. Are you still here, Shelley?
Thank you.
Hey, Shelley.
Hi, David. Thank
Hi.
you so much for taking my question. So I find myself becoming more and more fearful all the time of everything to the point that I'm almost paralyzed to make a move because I feel like I don't have the confidence in my decision. So what's a good way to build confidence in actually acting anyway, facing the fear and acting anyway, and moving forward, so I'm not constantly
That's a
stuck?
great question. I'm gonna go deeper in this as we go through each day, okay?
Okay.
I have a lot more teaching to give you before we get there 100% yet.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's really the big goal of
It
this.
is. It absolutely is.
Raise your hand if you have that same question. Like, how do I
Without
feel more
question.
confident in the decisions that I know that I need to make? 100%. I think
Yes.
we're
Yes.
you know, a lot of us are really feeling that way. So that's the goal of the whole thing. And that's the whole purpose of us starting with 4 parts. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way David could cover this in 60 minutes or
Right.
even 90
But
minutes.
you know, so let's just back up for 1 second because I feel like we got a wrench thrown in here. Those 4 questions that I gave, is this something I want to be, do, or have? Is being, doing, or having this going to take me in the direction that I want to go? Is being, doing, or having this in harmony with the laws of the universe? Does being, doing, or having this, is it going to take away from another person's choice? If you follow those 4 questions with 3 yeses and a no, it will tell you the choice to make. It will tell you the direction to go. Now, we're going to go over more of that as we go through the next few days, but that is a fantastic starting point. And don't feel bad if you can't completely eradicate fear. It takes a long time to be able to do that for most people. Is it possible? I think it's possible, but it takes some time. It takes effort, it takes study. It also takes convincing yourself about the things that you fear. How do you not fear them, right? Especially if you have experience with fearing those things. How do you get to the place where you release that from your body energetically and not have fear around those? So
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, everybody's in a different place. It's okay.
Yeah. The next question, and I'm probably going to mispronounce your name, so I apologize in advance, is from Romilla Reddy. Go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. It's Romola. You pronounced it perfectly. Thank you. David, could you please say something about the laws of the universe? Because I haven't had much experience of those.
I'm going into the laws tomorrow in
Okay,
great
great.
depth. Do you have a specific question I can answer right now?
No, it's just generally because I don't know enough about it. So I was going to do a little research.
Absolutely. I'm going to be talking about them tomorrow first thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if anyone else has a question, now's your chance. Go ahead and type your name in the chat. Otherwise, we'll say bye for today and pick you right back up here tomorrow. I'm not seeing any other. Oh, here we got one more, David.
Okay.
This question's coming from Daniela Chase. Daniela, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, David. Thank you for taking my question. I want to jump the gun a little bit and ask what content at a high chunk level you're going to be covering on Thursday, because I have an existing conflict with a client and I'd like to move it.
I don't know yet. It's going to depend on how it goes where I get to on Thursday, but we'll definitely let you know. Okay?
All right, everybody. This has been absolutely amazing. David, thank you for the incredible teaching
My
today.
pleasure.
We plan to build on it over the next few days. Just a reminder for those of you that came late to today, the time for tomorrow is changed. The time is 3 p.m. Eastern, not 2 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern. And yes, you'll all get a replay of this. So if it doesn't work in your schedule because of the late change, don't worry, you will get the replay. You'll also get the replay of this. You'll get it tomorrow because it takes us a while to download everything and edit it and everything else. So you'll get the replay link first thing tomorrow morning. It will be in your inbox. If you want to rewatch it, that's perfectly and 100% fine. It's yours to keep forever and ever. And just a reminder, You have the option to join us for more of this at the Art of Success Summit happening October 13th through 15th. It's only $247 for all 3 days. It's not multiple speakers. It's all David teaching you how to master your own psychology, to master the laws, and to master your own success. And we are popping that link up here right now. Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern for part 2 of how to navigate uncertainty during a crisis. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.